Charlie Munger always emphasized that the preparation for a long and successful life begins decades before the actual date of retirement, through the consistent application of worldly wisdom and the avoidance of common psychological pitfalls that destroy wealth. You must understand that financial capital is merely a tool that serves a higher purpose, which is the maintenance of personal sovereignty and the ability to choose your own path without being beholden to any employer or any government agency for your basic needs. The first asset is not just about having a large sum of money in a bank account, but about owning productive assets that generate cash flow, regardless of whether you are working or sleeping, because this is the only way to achieve true independence. Munger preferred to invest in companies that had a high return on invested capital and were managed by people who were both honest and capable, because he knew that over the long run, the stock price would follow the business results of the underlying enterprise. In the context of retirement, you should look for assets that do not require your constant attention or your physical labor to maintain their value, such as shares in great global businesses or high-quality real estate in prime locations that will always be in demand. The danger for many retirees is that they become too conservative and move all of their capital into fixed income instruments, which are slowly eroded by the invisible tax of inflation, which Munger considered to be a major threat to any long-term financial plan. To combat this, one must have the courage to remain an owner of equities, even during periods of high market volatility, because the goal is not to preserve the nominal dollar amount, but to preserve the purchasing power of your life savings over a period of 30 or 40 years. This requires a strong stomach and a deep understanding of market history, which allows you to see a market crash not as a tragedy, but as a rare opportunity to buy more high-quality assets at a significant discount from their intrinsic value. Beyond the financial realm, the second asset of a multidisciplinary mind is what truly separates those who thrive in retirement from those who merely survive, because a sharp intellect allows you to adapt to the rapidly changing world around you with ease. Munger was a fierce advocate for the study of psychology because he realized that most of the mistakes made by investors and retirees are not caused by a lack of intelligence, but by the influence of standard human misjudgment patterns, such as social proof. By learning the 24 standard causes of human misjudgment, you can audit your own thinking process and avoid making catastrophic errors in judgment that could wipe out your financial security or damage your most important personal relationships in an instant. This intellectual asset acts as a continuous quality control system for your life, ensuring that you remain rational and objective, even when those around you are being swept away by the latest financial mania or the latest social trend of the day. The second pillar of retirement success involves the deep cultivation of a multidisciplinary mind, which Munger described as having a box of tools, so that you do not treat every problem like a nail that needs to be hit with a hammer. If you only know a little bit of economics but nothing about the laws of physics or the principles of evolutionary biology, you will be blind to the ways that systems actually function, and you will make poor decisions. Munger believed that the best way to keep the brain healthy and functional during the later years of life is to feed it a steady diet of difficult challenges and complex information that forces the neurons to remain active and connected at all times. He often pointed out that many people reach the age of retirement and simply turn off their brains by watching mindless television or engaging in trivial hobbies that do not require any significant level of cognitive effort or critical thinking skills. This mental stagnation is the primary cause of the rapid decline that many retirees face, because the human mind follows the law of use it or lose it, just as much as the physical muscles of the body do when they are not exercised. By contrast, a man who spends his retirement years studying the grand ideas of the great thinkers will find that his judgment actually improves with age, even as his physical strength might begin to diminish according to the natural laws of biology. The third asset of character and integrity is perhaps the most difficult to build, because it requires a lifetime of consistent effort and the willingness to say no to easy gains that come at the expense of your long-term reputation and self-respect. Munger frequently remarked that the world is full of brilliant people who are miserable in their old age because they never took the time to build a foundation of trust with the people who should have been their closest allies and friends. A successful retirement is not just about the size of your bank account, but about the quality of the people who are willing to stand by your side and help you navigate the complexities of life without any expectation of a financial reward in return. This social capital is built through thousands of small acts of honesty and kindness, and by always being the person who does what they say they are going to do, regardless of the personal cost or the difficulty involved in the task. When you enter your retirement years, you will find that a reputation for being a straight shooter is more valuable than any amount of gold, because it attracts high-quality opportunities and high-quality people into your orbit, while repelling those who are dishonest. Munger lived by the rule that you should never work for someone you do not admire, and you should never associate with people who have low standards of integrity, because their bad habits will eventually rub off on you. The concept of inversion is another powerful tool from the Munger library of mental models that every person planning for retirement should master to avoid the common disasters that befall those who only think forward. Instead of asking what makes a happy retirement, you should ask what would make a miserable retirement, and then systematically avoid those specific behaviors, such as overspending or neglecting your health or losing your curiosity. By identifying the paths to failure, you can create a much safer and more reliable route to success, because it is often easier to avoid stupidity than it is to seek brilliance in a world that is inherently complex and unpredictable. Munger noted that many people ruin their later years by making just one or two massive mistakes that could have been easily avoided if they had simply taken the time to think through the potential downsides of their actions. One of the greatest threats to a stable retirement is the psychological tendency to reach for yield when interest rates are low, which leads many people to take unnecessary risks with their principal capital just to maintain a certain income. Munger warned that this behavior is a form of insanity because it risks the money you actually need for the money you only want, and it often results in the total loss of the assets you worked so hard to accumulate. The wise retiree understands that the goal of the financial asset is preservation of capital and purchasing power, first and foremost, while any additional growth should be viewed as a secondary benefit rather than a primary requirement. This shift in mindset from accumulation to preservation requires a high degree of emotional control and the ability to ignore the envy that arises when you see others making quick profits in speculative bubbles. Envy was one of the few sins that Munger considered to be completely useless, because it does not provide any pleasure and only leads to poor decision-making and a constant state of dissatisfaction with your own life and achievements. In retirement, you must be content with your own progress and focus on the things that are within your control, such as your spending habits and your intellectual growth and the quality of your personal relationships. A truly successful life, according to Munger, is one where you have spent your time becoming more rational and more objective every single day, while helping others to do the same through your own example and your own words. This process of constant improvement does not end when you stop working, but rather it accelerates because you finally have. The final aspect of the Munger mindset involves the acceptance of reality as it is, rather than how you wish it to be, which is the ultimate hallmark of a rational mind and a prerequisite for any happy retirement. Many people spend their lives fighting against the inevitable changes of time and the shifts in the global economy, but the wise person learns to adapt and find the opportunities that exist within every new set of circumstances. Munger often spoke about the importance of having a sense of humor and a certain level of detachment from the dramas of the world, because this perspective allows you to remain calm and effective when others are losing their heads. In your retirement years, this emotional stability becomes your greatest shield against the stresses of life, and it allows you to be a source of strength for your family and your community during difficult times. The legacy of a man like Charlie Munger is not just the billions of dollars he helped create for shareholders, but the example he set of a life lived with total integrity and a relentless commitment to the truth. By following his path and building your own assets of capital and wisdom and trust, you are not just preparing for a period of rest, but for a period of profound contribution and personal growth that lasts forever. As you look toward the future, remember that the best investment you can ever make is in your own mind, because knowledge is the only asset that cannot be taken away from you by inflation or market crashes or taxes. The journey of learning and growing and becoming a more rational human being is a lifelong endeavor that provides its own rewards and ensures that your retirement years will be the most rewarding part of your life. This concludes our deep analysis into the 3 essential assets for retirement through the lens of one of the greatest thinkers of our time, whose wisdom continues to guide millions of people toward a better and more rational future. We hope these insights help you build a solid foundation for your own independence and provide you with the mental tools needed to navigate the complexities of the modern world with confidence and grace. The Munger mindset explores the timeless principles of rational thinking and financial wisdom shared by one of the greatest investors in history to help you achieve true independence and a life well lived. If you found these insights valuable and want to master the art of worldly wisdom and smart investing, then please subscribe to our YouTube channel for more of our deep dives into the minds of the world's greatest thinkers.